3 weeks before our wedding, my world cracked open with a single phone call. I was in my Seattle apartment, overlooking the Puget Sound, finalizing the seating chart for the reception at the Space Needle. My fiancée, Lila, and I had planned everything down to the last detail. The ferry ride for guests, the fresh salmon menu, the indie band from Portland. We were high school sweethearts who'd reconnected after college, and this felt like our perfect ending. The call came from Lila while I was at work, managing a tech startup in Bellevue. Her voice trembled. "Alex, I have to tell you something. My old friend from college, Derek, he's in trouble. He's going through a messy divorce and says he's on the edge, talking about doing something stupid. He begged me to come down to San Francisco for the weekend to talk him through it. It's just 2 days, and I'll be back before our final dress fitting. I swear, it's nothing romantic. I love you more than anything." I froze, coffee mug halfway to my lips. Derek wasn't just any friend. He was her ex from freshman year, the one she'd dated before me. They'd stayed in touch platonically, or so she'd said. But now, with our vows looming, she wanted to drop everything and fly south to be his shoulder to cry on? I tried to play it cool at first. If he's really in crisis, maybe he needs professional help. Not you hopping on a plane, I suggested. But she insisted it was her duty as a friend, that ignoring him could lead to tragedy. As the day wore on, doubt gnawed at me. I pictured her in some Bay Area hotel, consoling him over wine, while I sat alone reviewing vendor contracts. Our wedding was supposed to be about us committing fully. No loose ends, no divided loyalties. If she couldn't prioritize that now, what about after the I-do's? By evening, I'd made up my mind. I didn't yell or accuse, I just acted. I emailed the venue coordinator first, explaining a personal emergency and invoking the cancellation clause. Then the florist in Pike Place Market, the photographer from Tacoma, even the custom cake baker in Olympia. Everything refunded or rescheduled for strangers. I booked a storage unit and moved my stuff from our shared condo in Capitol Hill to my brother Nate's place in Kirkland. He raised an eyebrow but didn't pry, just cracked open a couple of IPAs from a local brewery and queued up a Mariners game on TV. The backlash hit like a storm the next morning. Lila's texts flooded in. "What the hell, Alex? It's just a weekend to help a friend. You're overreacting." Her best friend Vanessa called me possessive. Lila's brother from their family in Denver messaged about how I was letting anxiety ruin a good thing. Even Derek chimed in via LinkedIn of all places. "Dude, she's trying to save my life here. Don't make this about your ego." I responded once, calmly, "If our future starts with you choosing to be someone's savior over being my partner, then we're already done." Silence followed, then escalation. Lila posted on Instagram a filtered photo of our save-the-date card captioned, "Heartbroken. Wedding on hold due to Alex's sudden cold feet. Sending love and light." My feed exploded with comments from mutual friends, some supportive, others calling me out. I could have let it slide, but integrity won. I screenshotted her call transcript, I'd recorded it for my own clarity, and posted it with a simple note. Not cold feet, just clarity on priorities. The online frenzy began. Hashtags like Ryu's wedding drama and An as choose wisely trending locally. By afternoon, Lila showed up at Nate's door with Vanessa and her mom in tow, demanding I fix this mess. Nate, ever the protector, leaned on the doorbell cam. "If you think ditching your fiancé for an ex is no big deal, maybe rethink your definition of commitment." They left in a huff after neighbors threatened to call the cops. Over the next few days, Lila amped up the narrative, sharing stories of our happy times online, implying I was the villain. But cracks appeared. At what should have been our bachelor-bachelorette weekend, Derek's ex-wife messaged me privately. Turns out there was no edge. Derek had fabricated the crisis to test if Lila would come running, hoping to rekindle old flames before she tied the knot. He'd bragged about it in a group chat that got leaked. I forwarded the evidence to Lila anonymously. Her response? Radio silence at first, then a tearful voicemail apologizing, begging for a second chance. But the damage was done. Our guest list splintered. Friends took sides, family gatherings turned awkward. Lila's dad, a retired engineer from Colorado, disowned the whole charade after learning her mom had encouraged the trip, whispering about Derek's supposed tech fortune, which was all hype. He was buried in debt. The fallout was like watching a wildfire spread. Lila's voicemail lingered on my phone, her voice cracking as she pleaded for forgiveness, but I didn't reply. I couldn't shake the image of her boarding that plane to San Francisco, choosing Derek's sob story over our promises. Nate, sensing my resolve, kept me grounded with late-night talks over takeout from our favorite dim some spot in Bellevue. "You dodged a bullet, Alex," he'd say, passing me a steamed bun. "You need someone who's all in." The weekend that would have been our wedding came and went. Instead of standing under a floral arch at the Space Needle, I was hiking Mount Rainier with Nate and a few buddies from my startup. The crisp air and endless views cleared my head. Social media, though, was a different beast. Lila kept posting. Pictures of her at a wine bar, smiling through tears, captioned with vague quotes about healing. Her followers ate it up, painting her as the victim. But the truth has a way of slipping out. A week later, a mutual friend from our old high school in Everett spilled the beans at a coffee shop meetup. Derek's divorce crisis wasn't just a lie. It was a calculated move. He'd been texting Lila for months, planting doubts about our relationship, feeding her nostalgia about their college days at UC Berkeley. When she showed up in San Francisco, he wasn't on the edge of anything except his own ego, hoping to win her back before she walked down the aisle. The friend showed me screenshots from Derek's ex-wife, who'd found his phone and exposed the whole scheme. Lila, it turned out, had known parts of the truth but went anyway, convinced she could handle it. The revelation hit our circle like a shockwave. Vanessa, Lila's best friend, unfollowed her online after a heated argument. Lila's mom tried to spin it, claiming I'd misunderstood the situation, but her dad wasn't having it. He called me directly, apologizing for his wife's meddling and offering to cover half the cancellation fees Dee paid. I declined. Money wasn't the point. Trust was. I threw myself into work, pitching new AI-driven software to investors in Seattle's tech scene. The distraction was a lifeline. One evening, at a networking event in Pioneer Square, I met Harper, a graphic designer with a sharp wit and a laugh that cut through the room's noise. We bonded over a shared love for gritty sci-fi novels and craft cider from a local brewery. On our second date, at a dive bar in Fremont, she leaned across the table and said, "If my fiancé ever thought running to an ex was okay, I'd be out the door with a one-way ticket to anywhere else." Her clarity was like a reset button for my heart. Months later, Lila reached out again, this time in person. She showed up at my new apartment in Queen Anne, eyes red, holding a letter she'd written. She admitted she'd been wrong, that Derek's manipulation had clouded her judgment, and that losing me was her biggest regret. I listened, but the spark was gone. "I hope you find what you're looking for," I told her, closing the door. Looking back, that phone call from Lila was the pivot point. It shattered the future we'd planned, but it also freed me to build a better one. Harper and I are taking things slow, but every moment with her feels like a choice. Deliberate, honest, real. The wedding that never was taught me something. Love isn't just a feeling. It's a decision to show up every single day for the person who matters most.